on Springvale Road for 4 kilometers.
www.blue-lotus.com.au.
Discover a secret world of fabulous flowers and family fun at the spectacular Blue Lotus Water Garden in the Yarra Valley. Escape to a wonderland of stunning lakes, thousands of lotus flowers and amazing tropical blooms. See the giants of the Amazon, the biggest water lily species in the world. It's a great day out for everyone, and there's plenty of fun for the little ones. Best of all, the kids are free. To find us, Google Blue Lotus Yarra Valley. It's a spectacular place to see.
In the new season of Hamish and Andy's Remembering Project, we learn that every discussion about their band ends in an argument.
Never tear us apart. It had everything that we needed. It was slow enough. I don't need it to be slow, mate.
500 metres, merge onto Eastern
I can play
Freeway,
songs 5 times as fast as that.
Hamish and Andy's Remembering Project. New episodes drop every Thursday across summer. Grab them on the Listener app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Listener.
Don't just get any old mattress and cross your fingers. There's only one award-winning sleeping nut mattress that Australia loves and comes with a system to get the comfort perfect for you in your very own home. Get it perfect at
continue on
sleepingnut.com.
M3 for 14 kilometres.
Monday, 8 a.m. Get ready to win big. Big things are coming from where you live. From 1019 The Fox.
Pockets, and when you put the singing girl preset and put in the cocaine is not good for you, then you can get this exact vocal, which I liked a lot. It's just a strange combination to have this music with it.
We couldn't know.
So from the Israeli side, what we're hearing from that, that's been the
بسيط يا حكيم يا عدل يا لطيف يا خبير يا حليم.
In unhelpful ways, and particularly, we're taking a big risk with our kids' child. Can't walk, you can't talk, and eventually you can no longer breathe. Grateful that I haven't heard my dad speak for
the 2 A's, but 3 or 4 of them. I remember looking at the phone book and thinking, come on, and I was struggling with these symptoms. That wasn't helpful, was it? I mean, immediately at the start, you're thinking, oh God, I've got the one thing that the doctor didn't want me to have.
Well, I think when he told me that he had MND, the first thing I asked, okay, well, what do we do? And I was really shocked to hear from him that there was nothing to do, that the doctor had told him to essentially go out and tick off his bucket list to enjoy the time that he had. It would be limited, but there was nothing that they could do to help him. And that really shocked me. We sent someone to the moon 50 plus years ago. We've seen such a medical advancements. It felt a bit surreal that there was no way that we could fight back with treatments. But I think it just solidified within him to find an answer, to find treatments, to find a way to tame the beast so we could slow it down and then one day knock it on its head. And that's what he's been driven to do for the last 10 or so years.
The Danaher family is a well-known one in AFL circles. Your father in particular as a player and a coach. Was he a better player than a coach?
Probably lovely. He only lasted about 80 plus games because he did his knee 4 times, and he was a coach at Melbourne Football Club for 10 years.
Got him to a grand final.
Got him to a grand final. The grand final didn't go too well for him, but that's okay. That's okay. But he still catches up with so many of his players that he coached, which amazes me because I'm sure he had some stern words for them many times across his coaching journey. But I think AFL is just an incredible community to be involved in, and we've seen how they rally behind people. You know, we love, as Australians, we love to support the underdog, and having the AFL community to rally behind Dad during his illness. We see the Big Freeze each and every year in June, and we've got 90,000 people in the stands at the MCG wearing their Big Freeze beanies, dipping into their pockets in whatever way they can to support the cause. So it's just I think growing up within the AFL community and seeing a different side of it over the past 10 years, I just think they're an incredible organisation, an incredible community.
For those who didn't really have much of an interest in AFL, who may not have known your father or father's name or his brother's names as well, they would know about the Big Freeze, where on the, well, it used to be the Queen's birthday, now it's the King's birthday, a lot of people go down the slippery dip, down the slide, and into the icy bucket of water, usually dressed in some weird costume. Where'd that idea come from?
Well, back in 2014, we saw the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge just go right across the world. That was raising money for ALS and MND. And we saw that happen, and Dad was just a year into his diagnosis, and he met 2 other individuals. There was Patrick Cunningham, whose wife, the beautiful Angie Cunningham, passed away from MND in 2016, and Dr. Ian Davis, who had MND, was diagnosed just at 32 and passed away in 2018. They came together and they wanted to find a way to elevate, to bring a spotlight to MND, because there were so many people who did not know what this disease was. I didn't know what it was. And so they wanted to find a way to scale up that ALS Ice Bucket Challenge and bring it to the MCG. Dad is always singular focus that if he's going to fight back against this disease, he's going to have so much fun while he's doing it. And the dad joke in him always says he can't spell fundraising without fun. So he really wanted to make sure that whatever we did, it brought a smile to people's faces and made them feel like they were a part of the change, that they were empowered to make an impact in this fight, and it was going to bring all these great feelings within them. And so we decided to bring a pool to the MCG, to bring a slide, and to get our fearless celebrities, 10 that were nominated, to come to the MCG to make a bit of a fool of themselves, but to bring the spotlight to MND, to talk about it. We knew that the Australian community was so generous. They just needed to know that there was someone that needed help.
In his autobiography, your father quotes Mark Twain, I think it is, who says the 2 most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. Do you think your father at some point looked back and thought, well, if anyone had to get this terrible disease, it was going to be me, because I can do something about it?
He's always been a person who said, if I don't fight, how can I expect others to fight? He needed to lead. The fight against MND, it is such a challenging one. It really takes away your independence. It does take away a lot of aspects of your dignity. It just is a horrendous illness. So for him to make that decision to bring it out into the public, that was a challenging decision to make, but it was one that he knew was the right one to make. We had to rattle the cage. We had to find a way to change the MND narrative. We knew that the MND was not incurable. It's just been underfunded. Someone had to make that stand, and if it was someone like my dad that made it, I wish it was someone 20, 30, 40 years ago that made that step, but someone has to make that first step, and it's going to change the lives of people in the future. We've seen such a momentum change in the research for MND, and it's been because him, as well as those other founders and everyone that backed him from day dot. They've been able to support us in funding critical MND research and being able to support people currently living with MND. So it's one of those sliding door moments, but I think what he did over the last 10 years, I know what he's done over the last 10 years will change the world in the future.
So what's the eventual aim? A cure or treatment to make sure that the symptoms aren't as debilitating?
I think we need to understand this disease more. we're so far behind in it. We've really been able to accelerate our knowledge. We don't know why a large portion of people who get MND, why they've got it, what the cause is. There's going to be lots of different versions of MND, so I don't believe that there will be one, silver bullet that's going to be the answer. So we want to understand this disease, and we want to find a way to tame it, to slow it down. And that's treatments. We need to find treatments for people living with MND. And if we can slow it down, we can find that end goal, and that's a cure. Fight MND wants to close its doors because we are no longer needed, because we have the answer. And I know that Dad really wants to see the world in a position where a father doesn't need to sit down his daughter, his son, his wife, his family and friends to say that he has an incurable illness, that there's nothing that can be done, it's terminal. He wants the world to be where someone would sit across the doctor and they said, don't worry, here's what we're going to do, you're going to be okay, and that's what we're fighting for every day.
Beck Danaher is our guest. Her father Neil is the Victorian Australian of the Year nominee. The Big Freeze, talked about that. That's the most public part of your father's fight, raising money and raising awareness. What else goes on?
So we run lots of different events throughout the year, and I know one of Dad's favourite events is called Danaher's Drive. And Dad's a country boy. He grew up in this tiny town in New South Wales called Ungarry. And he's got that country blood in him, so he wanted to have the Big Freeze, which was more of a city-focused event at the MCG, and he wanted to get out into the regional communities that have been amazing supporters and to continue to raise awareness for MND. So it's a 4-day car trip that we go around into regional areas and just have a lot of fun while we're doing it, but it's a fantastic event where 300 individuals come together, they fundraise for 12 months of the year, and then we celebrate with a 4-day regional tour around Victoria, and we've gone into South Australia and New South Wales. So that's one that's very close to his heart. He sits on the committee and he drives us very hard to make sure it's a lot of fun and it's very successful.
600 metres,
so that's a fantastic event that we hold each and every year. We also do the community round, which is focusing on grassroots community sports to be able to come together and show their support, whether it's pulling up their Big Free socks or doing lots of different things to be able to fundraise and just, I think, more importantly, show the community members that are impacted by MND that there's an army supporting them along the journey. And there's a lot of other aspects that we really focus on. We just had 50 delegates from across the world come to Melbourne to discuss how we can fast-track research, how we can work, how we can collaborate, how we can identify what are the critical areas that we all need to target to find this answer. I know 10 years ago when we were just trying to get a clinical trial to come to Australia, we got told that we're pretty irrelevant, we're too far away, it's too this, too that. To be 10 years in and have the best minds across the world wanting to come to Melbourne to discuss this because they see us as leaders in finding an answer to this disease. It's very exciting times. I think we are leading the charge to find treatments, and it just brings such hope when originally it was just a hopeless landscape.
The MND fight is already a very high-profile one. What difference would your father winning Australian of the Year make to it, do you think?
Dad sees this honour of just being nominated and the award that he received to be Victorian of the Year is in recognition of well beyond just him. It's for everyone out there who's been impacted by MND, those that are fighting, those that are caring for loved ones. It's really shining a spotlight on this community that is going through the fight of their lives, that have seen this insidious disease come in. It is in recognition of their fighting spirit, so I think it is a great honour to be in this position. He never set out in this fight for these honours, but I think it's just an amazing recognition of the hard work, not just Neil, but everyone who has backed us, who has donated, who's worn a beanie with proud, who's just spoken about MND and raised that awareness. It's about all those that have come along with us for the journey. It might be Neil that may or may not be standing there on the day, but I think it's really, truly the only reason we're here is because the Australian community as a collective has stood up and is supporting us.
But every sport these days, it seems, has a particular focus or charity. We see the pink test with cricket. In rugby league, brain cancer because of the Mark Hughes Foundation, the former Newcastle Knights player. With the AFL, it's MND. I mean, that's important for major sporting organisations to get behind something.
Absolutely. It's such a strong platform for different voices to come out and tell such a wide audience that there is a need. There is someone out there that needs your help, and I'm just amazed by the Australian community. We see times are so tough. We just went through the COVID pandemic. We're going through a cost of living crisis, and each year when we come up for the big freeze, we're worried about the impacts that might have. But I feel like when times are tough, that's when the Australians rally and rise, and you see them in all their glory and supporting people that just need a little lift. And it's really important that these platforms, these sporting communities, utilise what they have at hand to support people who need some assistance. So I think it's just incredible to see the pink test. That was amazing. Great cricket game too, so that was good. But I just think it's really important that we continue to leverage these platforms to reach different audiences, because it can make such a difference. Before the big freeze, we were floating along trying to work out what our fundraising initiatives could be. Post the big freeze, we've been able to invest $115 million to find treatments and a cure, as well as support people living with MND. And I believe that's just utilising the AFL community, but it's definitely so much broader now.
Finally, what is your father's medical condition now? Is he aware of the Victorian Australian of the Year award?
So MND might take so much from you physically. He can't talk, he hasn't been able to eat for a long time. It's now taking away his ability to walk, but his brain is as switched on as it's ever been. He is so driven in finding treatments and a cure, and to be able to do it in the most efficient and urgent manner to ensure that we are heading to our end destination with as much speed as possible. So he's aware of everything. I'm sure it's very frustrating that it's harder for him to do the things that he wants to do, but he's got great equipment. Like, he has an eye gaze machine which enables him to type with his eyes, and then it speaks on his behalf. So he's able to communicate with us. It's changed his way of doing things, but his brain, his mind, it's a fascinating thing. He's an incredible individual, so resilient and driven, and he continues to drive this organisation forward.
And will he be in Canberra on Saturday week, 25th of January?
He absolutely will be. That is 100%. He is very excited to be able to attend, and I think just be involved. There is such fantastic people nominated who are doing just amazing things within our community. So it is a privilege to stand amongst such an incredible alumni.
Beck, I wish you the very best, but especially to your father, and I hope he wins. And thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And that was Beck Danaher. Her father, Neil Danaher, is the Victorian Australian of the Year nominee for 2025. He leads the fight to find a cure for motor neurone disease. On ABC Radio, you're with Rod Quinn. And this is our annual chance to meet the nominees for Australian of the Year. The Tasmanian Australian of the Year nominee for 2025 is Sam Elsom. He's going to tell me what Asparagopsis is, because it might help save the planet. Sam, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me on.
What is the connection between seaweed and methane emissions?
It's a bizarre partnership, I would agree. So I think what the story, or the genesis of the story, came from CSIRO actually back in 2010, 2012, were understood that methane produced from livestock was going to be a big and emerging global issue, and they wanted Australia to be on the front foot. So we invested in a whole bunch of research, feeding livestock everything from eucalyptus leaves to banksia to all sorts of different things, including a variety of seaweeds, to see the impact it was going to have on
the left 2 lanes to turn left onto Madden Grove, State Road 21.
About 80% of or 70% of our agricultural emissions comes from the burps predominantly.
500 metres. At the
it's a
roundabout,
big
take
issue.
the first exit onto Loyola Grove,
What was interesting
State
is
Route
that
21.
research back then found that this novel native red seaweed virtually eliminated methane emissions from livestock. In fact, the researchers
Up to 90%.
Yeah, up to 90%. They thought their infrastructure, their apparatus was broken and reran the trials again, actually. So really exciting and unexpected pairing, I think. But what that research was, groundbreaking. Again, another amazing example of Australian innovation. We've been responsible for the solar panels, ultrasound, even Wi-Fi.
In fact, you make the point that we're very good at innovating in that regard, but not very good at monetising it, really, is that by making money out of it or by creating products. Other people have done that with those sorts of things you've talked about.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we do have not a great track record here in Australia of commercialising our science. I guess what we're doing here is an opportunity to do exactly that, to really get on the front foot here globally. I think, as we think about what are very ambitious national targets,
150 metres. Keep right to stay on Grange Road,
Where
State
are we
Route
up to at the
21.
moment? Actually going backwards. We're increasing.
So last year I think global emissions
to
went
stay
up
on
by
Grange
1%.
Road.
So every year I think we wait, that mountain that we've got to climb gets steeper.
So with the methane emissions, the Dutch
50
also have
metres.
been working
At
on
the
various
roundabout,
things. What were they
continue
working?
straight to stay on
So the
Grange
Dutch have
Road, State Route 21.
a product that they
300
produce, which is
metres.
a
At the
compound that reacts in a
roundabout,
very
continue
similar way.
straight to stay
It
on
doesn't
Grange
have
Road,
the same
State
level of
Route
abatement,
21.
but they got started on it maybe about 5 years or so before the CSIRO. So they've got a product called Bovair, and they have been able to get market access in a number of different regions, but it's a different product altogether.
Yeah. So a former Australian of the Year, Tim Flannery, was instrumental in sort of setting you on this path. What happened?
Yeah, so I was active environmentalist. I'm part of the Climate Council, or a member of the Climate Council, and
400
listening to
metres.
Tim
At the roundabout,
deliver,
take
I
the
guess,
first
an
exit
overview
and
of the
stay on Grange
IPCC
Road,
report,
State
the
Route 21.
Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They produced these reports that the scientists put together around the state of climate, showing these graphs, the rate of, or exponential, if you like, rate of change from inaction around climate change, basically from increasing carbon emissions in our atmosphere. It was a pretty dire picture that was being painted, but thankfully in that same presentation he was talking about that we do have solutions. There are a number of solutions, but we're not getting them to scale, we're not doing it fast enough, and really was a call to action for people with entrepreneurial nous to get behind solutions. I got very excited about seaweed as one of those.
So how big can it be? Can we farm, either commercially or wild seaweed for that matter, enough seaweed to feed all the livestock in Australia that's going to make a difference to reduce methane emissions?
So that's a big statement. I mean, I think I'm an ambitious and optimistic guy. I think we can. But having said that, I recognise the size of that challenge. We've got about 26 to 28 million head of livestock in Australia, of cattle anyway. And, from our operations down in Tasmania, we can probably feed about 10% of those. So,
Turn right onto Toorak Road,
maybe
State
20
Route
if we
26.
can increase the growth rates. So it's not about doing this for everyone, in every single farming system, but at the same time, we do have the capacity to significantly reduce methane emissions. That's from one site in Tasmania. We've developed a land-based cultivation operation that can be replicated in other parts of Australia. There's a tropical variety of the seaweed, so we're working with James Cook University up there to see how we can develop, a tropical
200 metres.
operation as
Turn
well.
left
Can you
onto Mathara
synthesise
Road.
that thing in the seaweed that makes it helpful when it comes to methane emissions in order to create a synthetic type of it?
Yeah, so that's been work that we've also been involved in as well. So our business, we have a seaweed science team and a seaweed farming team, and then we have an ag development and ruminant nutrition
Turn
team.
left onto
We've been
Mathara
working
Road.
on what are those combination of marine compounds that are responsible for methane abatement. One of them is a compound called bromoform. There are a number of others that we know are playing in concert to have such a significant abatement outcome.
What do you want to happen with this? Do you want to be able to develop it enough so that we can feed it to every cow and bull in Australia?
I think we want to make
400
it
metres. You will arrive
easy
at your
for farmers
destination.
to do this if they want to. We want to try to build frameworks where farmers are rewarded for doing it, and we also want to, it's certainly available to every farmer, but I don't know if it'll be something that every single farmer will use. It'll be a tool in the toolbox of solutions that they can apply to reduce emissions.
But do you think that getting government involved would help to mandate this sort of thing? If this, we know, can reduce methane emissions, which are a huge problem around the world, and farmers are saying, no, I don't want to use that, I'll use this instead. Because it is expensive, it's fair to say, and it is difficult to handle too. It could actually, not for the cows, not for the cattle, but in fact for the people handling it sometimes.
Well, we've done a lot of work and right across the board there. So, I mean, one of the things that maybe if I go back to how it works, and then I can understand what the benefits are. So it basically reacts with enzymes through the digestive process. So it improves their digestion and makes more of the carbon that they're ingesting through their feed available to either produce milk or meat.
Okay.
So we have a productivity uplift, and where we've got to in terms of the cost is to be able to provide the product at a cost lower than the productivity benefit that's being provided to the farmer. So there's a sort of ROI in place for the farmer just to get on board. Now, what we find through our engagement with the industry is that farmers are largely indifferent on this. It's easy, we're working hard to build solutions that make it, next to no practice change for them. So we've got lick blocks now, which is a way of delivering nutritional supplements to cattle in grazing situations. We've got a liquid supplement which goes to dairies and feedlots. We've got pellets for sheep. And so, we've worked really hard to kind of create delivery methods that work. But farmers need an incentive at the end of the day.
But the farmers are the ones